This year, an exciting new Bible is coming out. It is exciting because the Old Testament translation is from the Septuagint and the New Testament translation is from the patriarchal text. Now, no Bible on the market today has translations of both of these texts in one volume. Now, the Septuagint and the patriarchal text are the two favorite texts for Orthodox Christians, so of course the Orthodox community is very excited for this Bible, but I think Christians of all backgrounds should be very excited for this Bible because it is a unique translation coming from two very unique source texts, and Bible enthusiasts who are interested in the Septuagint or interested in different New Testament manuscript witnesses are going to find this Bible very interesting. If you love Bibles, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button, because on this channel I like to go deep into Bible topics. Without any further ado, let's talk about this new upcoming Bible and what we know so far about it. Now, the Bible is called the Holy Reader's Edition from Newrome Press. Newrome Press is an Orthodox publisher founded in 2007, and it's a very well-known publisher in the Orthodox communities because it has very beautiful books. They have beautiful covers, quality materials, and the books that they publish are on spirituality, patristics, prayer, scripture, those kinds of things. So I will go ahead and read the description of this Bible from the website itself, the Newrome Press website. It says, the Holy Bible Reader's Edition includes the Lexham English language Septuagint, complete with the Eastern Orthodox Bible New Testament. This 1,400-page edition is offset, printed in two colors on superior 35 GSM Bible paper with gilded edges, rounded corners, and 4-page marker ribbons. The physical size of this edition is B5 JIS 182 millimeters by 257 millimeters. That's about 7.17 inches by 10.12 inches. Available in two binding types, zippered for portability and standard for desk use. The contents of both versions are identical. Both binding types will be available in manufactured leather, with a very limited number of copies available in lambskin. 42 beautiful full color maps with cross references are included for enrichment. So let's unpack this description and see if we can understand what we know about it. So when will this Bible be released? Well, pre-orders for the lambskin edition began in November 2025, but those are all sold out. Pre-orders for the standard editions are ongoing at the time of this video being filmed. So there are still standard versions which you can pre-order at the time of this video being filmed. I believe there are 500 copies available, and I think something like 50 copies have already been purchased. So there's still some time to get your copy if you're interested in buying it. It runs around between $90 and $100 plus shipping. The website, with regards to when it will come out, says the following. It says manufacturing is currently in process. When manufacturing is completed, we will post an update here after the books are shipped. The transit time to the USA is approximately 2 weeks, and the delivery from the port to our warehouse is 4 to 6 weeks. This is only an estimate since shipping times are unpredictable. So it'll be a while still until this Bible is in our hands, but according to the time frame that they give us here, we can probably expect the first Bibles to be in buyers' hands sometime in April, late April or May 2026. But I think more realistically, later in the year, these will start arriving at people's homes. So what about the publication itself? Well, it's 7.17 inches by 10.12 inches, known as B5 letter. It's larger than the average Bible. So if you have one of these Ignatius Catholic Study Bibles, it's about the same size. And I would say it's a little bit bigger than an average Bible. This is just a regular ESV Pew Bible, and you can kind of see the size difference. This Newrome Press Bible will be on the larger size, something like this Bible. Now, the covers are made of manufactured leather. It seems to be the exact same kind of cover as the EOB New Testament from Newrome Press. That's this publication here, and this is a kind of it's a kind of fake leather, and they describe this as a flexible cover, which I think describes it well. It's not exactly paperback because it is kind of firm, but it's not exactly hardcover either because you can see I can bend it. So it's more of a flexible cover, and the cover of the Newrome Bible Standard Edition will be something probably a lot like this if you already have this Bible. Now there are two editions, the standard and the zippered. The zippered one comes with a zipper, naturally. There were a limited number of lambskin options with lambskin covers that were for pre-order around November. Those are now sold out. However, they may return in the future, according to some messages that I've seen from Newrome Press. There's no promises that they'll be back, but they might be back in the future at some point. But regardless of which edition you get, zippered or non-zippered or standard or lambskin, they come with the same exact content. So it's the same Bible inside. You're not going to have any differences within the text block itself. The differences are going to be in the cover color, the cover material, and the cover art. So we'll talk a little bit about the art later. So the manufactured leather colors for the zippered versus the standard are these two colors described as burgundy and ochre. So you can see the standard non-zippered one's a little bit lighter colored. From the photo, it looks a little bit more orange, but we'll know for certain the color when they start arriving in the mail. The lambskin also comes in two different colors, also seems like a kind of burgundy and ochre color, but the difference in material might make the colors slightly different as well. Now, the cover art makes this Bible very interesting because Newrome Press takes beauty in their Bibles very seriously. So regardless of which edition you're getting, you're going to get cover art. The lambskin comes with a beautiful cross that's a copy of a 13th century cross from a church in Serbia. So this is an Orthodox cross from the 13th century that's been put on the cover of the lambskin versions of this Bible. It's very beautiful. The standard versions that are made of manufactured leather are coming with a beautiful icon called the Root of Jesse icon, and it has Mary and Jesus there in the middle with saints surrounding them. So very beautiful art on both of these covers, but this different art. So if you get the lambskin, it's going to have a different art than the manufactured leather version. Now, what about the page format inside? Well, this is a reader's edition Bible, which means there's no versification within the text. So the numbers for the verses are not going to be inside the text block, but there are still going to be numbers, but they'll be on the side in the margin. So don't worry about getting lost. You won't get lost. This might make for a very nice reading experience, which is kind of cool. But not at the complete expense of the numbers, because they'll still be there in the margin if you want to find the verses that you're looking for. These pages are double columned, so it won't be a single columned page. And it looks something like this. You can see the two columns there. There's art in there throughout it. You can see the beginning of the book of Exodus has a nice, beautiful piece of art there. I think every single book will have something there. There's not a whole lot of colors, but there is color here. I think it's overall a nice balance between too colorful, too boring, too bland. I think it's very beautiful, very elegant. From what I can see in the photos, this is going to be a very beautiful Bible inside and a very usable Bible. Now, what about the footnotes and other content in the Bible? Well, the footnotes appear to be the exact same as the Lexham English Septuagint in the EOB New Testament. Now, these are the two translations that are featured in this publication. And we know about the Lexham English Septuagint and the EOB New Testament because they're already published in other versions. This is a translation of the EOB New Testament. So if you have this version, this publication, and if you've read it before, then you're already familiar with what the New Testament will be like in this Newrome Press Bible. The Old Testament is exactly the same as this Lexham English Septuagint. So again, if you have this, if you've read this, it's not going to be anything new. It's the same exact footnote content as well. So the Old Testament footnotes in the Lexham English Septuagint are focused on minor translation notes. So you won't have a lot of the commentary type of footnotes, but you will have some minor translation notes at the bottom. The New Testament footnotes contain translation notes as well, but also Old Testament references and important textual variants. The footnotes in this EOB New Testament are quite interesting, and I think there are some unique footnotes in here that make this a valuable addition to your New Testament collection. All of those footnotes seem to be featured in the Newrome Press Bible coming out as well. So it's important to keep in mind too, this is not a study Bible, so there's no patristic notes, commentaries, articles, things like that, but there are 42 maps that will be in it. And as far as I can tell, these are unique maps. They're not the same as, for example, the Thomas Nelson maps. They're going to be different ones. And I'm quite excited to see what kind of maps they put in there. 42 is a lot. So hopefully there'll be some really cool Old Testament, New Testament maps in there that you can use for your Bible studies. Now, what about the books contained in this Bible? Well, it's the same books contained in the Lexham English Septuagint and the EOB New Testament. So whatever books are in this publication with whatever books are in this publication will be together in this Newrome Press Bible. And because this Lexham English Septuagint is a translation of the Septuagint, specifically Sweet's edition of the Septuagint, it's going to have the same contents as that source text. So Jeremiah will be in there, but it will be the smaller version, the Septuagint version. Esther will be the longer version, the Septuagintal Esther. Ezra and Nehemiah will be one book called Second Esdras. And Baruch, the letter of Jeremiah, Susanna and Bell and the Dragon will all be connected to their corresponding books like they are in the Septuagint. It has the full Deuterocanon, so the Wisdom of Solomon, Wisdom of Sirach, Tobit, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees will all be featured in there. It also has some extra canonical books which are featured in the Lexham English Septuagint. They're not necessarily reflective of the Orthodox Bible canon. That's important to keep in mind. This book is not attempting to define the canon for you. It's simply reprinting the books that were featured in this translation of the Septuagint, which is a translation of Sweet's edition of the Septuagint. So some of those books are 3rd and 4th Maccabees will be in there, Enoch will be in there, Psalms of Solomon will be in there, and the Odes will be in there. Now these are very valuable and important books for your library. So if you don't already have these, it'll be a nice addition to your library. But it's kind of cool that these books are in there. It's always good to have them on hand. But it's just good to keep in mind that this is not necessarily affirming them as canonical or something like that. They're just simply published in there, and the canon question is a separate question. So there are also alternative versions found in the Lexham English Septuagint. So you may or may not know there are two different Greek transmission lines of Daniel, known as the Old Greek Daniel and the Theodotian Daniel. Both of these Daniels will be printed in this Bible like they are in the Lexham English Septuagint. There are also two different versions of Tobit. Both of those will be in this Bible as well. The New Testament will be the exact same New Testament books contained in the EOB New Testament, which is this version. And those are the exact same New Testament books as all Catholic and Protestant Bibles. So nothing special with regards to the contents of the New Testament. But it's important to keep in mind that it is following the majority text, the patriarchal text, which is very interesting. So what about the translation quality? Well, it's important to keep in mind that this is not a new translation of the Bible. It's a new publication which is joining together two pre-existing translations. Okay, so it's combining the EOB New Testament with the Lexham English Septuagint into one volume. Okay, so the Old Testament is the English or the Lexham English Septuagint. It's a translation of Sweet's Septuagint. Sweet's edition of the Septuagint follows Codex Vaticanus with missing portions supplied from Codex Alexandrinus and Codex Sinaiticus. Okay, so it's going to be the complete Septuagint, primarily sourced from Codex Vaticanus, but with some books provided by Alexandrinus and Sinaiticus. The translation is by Newrome Press, which is owned by Baker Publishing Group. It is a Protestant translation, technically speaking, because Newrome Press is a Protestant Christian publisher. But the good thing is it strictly follows the Septuagint alone. Now, this is very unique because you have a lot of Bibles. Actually, most of them are going to be picking and choosing different readings from different source texts. And it's hard to know sometimes what the source text is behind what you're reading, because a lot of translations are sometimes translating from the Masoretic text, but some parts will be from the Septuagint, some will be from the Dead Sea Scrolls. But what makes the Lexham English Septuagint so valuable is it is a pure translation of the Septuagintal reading of the Old Testament. So there's no risk of you reading a Masoretic reading. This is very valuable if you're studying the Septuagint, or if you're a Septuagint prioritist and you want to read the Septuagint exclusively. This is the Bible for you. The translation is styled after the ESV, so it reads a lot like that, which is comfortable, literal, but not too literal at the expense of understanding. The EOB New Testament is a translation of the patriarchal text. Now, this is very, very unique. There aren't very many translations on the market of the patriarchal text. I only know of 2 in English, and this is one of those 2. The official Greek New Testament is the patriarchal text. So this is a translation of the official Greek New Testament for the Ecumenical Patriarchate and Greek Orthodox Church. So Orthodox Christians put a lot of value on this patriarchal text because it's the official New Testament of the Ecumenical Patriarchate. And it's especially special because it's actually compiled from Byzantine lectionaries. So the readings that were used in the Byzantine Church were compiled to produce this translation, or the base text behind it. And that's important because it means that this is the text that came out of the life of the church. It wasn't produced from some dusty old manuscript somewhere. This was actually produced from the living readings within the historic Orthodox Church. So it's a very, very important translation for the Orthodox Church. But again, if you're interested in New Testament source texts, this is definitely one you're going to want to have in your library because it is unique and it is quite rare. It's the patriarchal text is very close to the majority text. It is a Byzantine type text. Sometimes it does agree with the Textus Receptus against the majority text, which is interesting. And it was translated by one translator, Father Laurent Kleneverk, who lived in California at the time when he translated this. It's a modern style translation, and it leans towards literal. So all good stuff. I think that these translations will be very comfortable, not too literal, not too dynamic, very comfortable and reliable texts. Now, my 2 cents about this Bible, I am very excited that it is a Bible from Orthodox source texts in one volume. We have translations of the Septuagint, we have translations of the patriarchal text, but we don't have a translation of the Septuagint and patriarchal text in one volume. This is the first time that's being published. So this is an exciting Bible for Orthodox Christians and whoever is interested in collecting Bibles. This is a very unique one for your collection. Now, this Bible is illuminated with beautiful art and images, which it gives it a very dignified look. And that's something that I think is lacking in the Bible market, is Bibles tend to lean on the plain side. But this Bible will add beauty to the Bible. I think it gives a lot of dignity to the scriptures, which I think is very appropriate. And it's something that I would like to see more often in Bibles, is to give them honor through beauty and making them decorated. The Bible, the source text in this Bible coming from the Septuagint and from the lectionaries of the church means that this is a Bible from the Christian tradition. This is not a rabbinic Bible. This is not a scholarly laboratory created Bible. This is something that is breathed right out of the life of the church, right out of the Christian biblical tradition. So if you want to read the Bible of the church fathers, this is definitely the Bible that you're going to want to have. Now, some points to keep in mind about this Bible: it is not technically fully Orthodox because the Lexham English Septuagint is from a Protestant publisher. So you might remember the concerns with the Orthodox Study Bible. They say, well, some critics will say that the Old Testament is Orthodox, but the New Testament is Protestant. Well, this one is similar, but it's the other way around. The Old Testament is Protestant, while the New Testament is Orthodox. But it doesn't really make a huge difference, in my opinion, because the Orthodox, the Lexham English Septuagint is a pure translation of that Septuagintal text. Okay, so it should have very minimal Protestant biases in the Old Testament text, should be very universally received as a accurate translation of the Septuagint. And it's important to keep in mind, too, this is not a replacement for the Orthodox Study Bible. It's a different class of Bible. The Orthodox Study Bible offers a unique translation of the Old Testament, the St. Athanasius Academy translation of the Old Testament. So if anything, this is a complementary Bible. It gives you another witness to your Septuagint translations. It's not in competition with it per se. The Orthodox Study Bible also has lots of footnotes, patristic footnotes, interpretation footnotes, articles, icons, prayers, things that people might want in addition to the biblical text. All of that makes the Orthodox Study Bible still very unique and very important. And this Bible does, the Lexham Bible, the Newrome Press Bible doesn't offer anything new with regards to the translation. So it is combining two existing translations into one, but these are good translations. The first time these two translations have been together in one volume. So overall, I'm very excited for this Bible, and knowing Newrome Press is going to be very beautiful. It's going to be very quality, and I am looking forward to it. I bought mine already, pre-ordered it, can't wait to get it in the mail. And if there's some left available, you might consider buying one for yourself. So that's all for today. If you found this video interesting, hit that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.